Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. Well, a little late than never, right? So this is my review of the Cort X2-LH. Now, of course, LH is left-handed, and I've been meaning to do a review on this thing. I thought I did, but apparently not. Now, unfortunately in this review, we will not be hearing the original pickups. If you do want to hear the original pickups, though, I do have a video on my channel of the before and after swap out of these zebra pickups, and I go into all the details about them, etc, etc. Okay, so we'll save a little bit of time on the video there. So do go check out that video if you want to hear what the original power sound pickups from Cort sound like in this particular guitar. Now, of course, the amp is going to be totally different, so keep that in mind. The amp we're using today is my new Boss Katana Mach 2 100 watt 1x12. I used to have the original series 100 1x12, but I got rid of it as this one was coming out. And it's like, upgrade time, and definitely worth the upgrade because now you can run 5 effects at once instead of 3. Makes a huge difference. Anyway, so I'm plugged into my Boss GT100 pedal board, which is right direct into the preamp input section on this amp. So we are not hearing any of the preamp voicing from the Katana, just whatever is going on the pedal board here, direct in. So it's kind of a cool feature they put into that Mark II amp. And believe me, there is a huge difference between going through the preamp input, bypassing the onboard, versus using the onboard even with the pedal board. It's just a huge night and day difference in the tone that you can achieve. So there's a lot of different tones that amp can do. Anyways, back to the Cort. So I've had this thing for about 7 years, minus a little time where it was away for a little bit, but that's okay. So I've had it the majority of that 7 years though, and I've played the daylights out of this guitar, and I gotta tell you guys, you cannot wear this thing out. It does have some pretty nice jumbo fat frets on it. They are not super jumbos, but they are jumbo. And they are out of some sort of super hard nickel because I have not been able to wear into these things. They just don't want to die. It's almost a disappointment because it's like, am I ever going to be able to do a fret job? You know, it's not like I'm looking forward to doing it, but it's kind of nice to know that the frets that they put on this guitar are just outstanding. Now, the one thing you do have to get used to on guitars that have medium, jumbo, jumbo, and super jumbo frets is it's a much lighter touch than what you're used to, which is another reason why they tend to also not wear so easy. But even guys with a stiffer grip, like even I am still, you know, I'm a little bit more pressure probably at times than what I should be, but I'm still not playing up in pitch, which is kind of a good thing. But nonetheless, I mean, these frets just don't want to die, and I've had a capo up and down this thing. I've been playing, you know, bar chords, power chords, you name it, string bending the crap out of it. They just don't want to die. So there's a huge plus right there. Now we do have a maple neck on this one, basswood body, rosewood fingerboard. Now there was another version of the same guitar done, same neck, except for the fingerboard was Jodoba, and then they changed the body type to, I can't even pronounce it. But anyway, so they don't appear to have any more X2s anymore on the Cort website, so it's definitely going to be a discontinued model, but it was taken over by, I believe, the 100 series. It's going to be their lower end now. Now, this is not a low-end guitar, although it is inexpensive. You know, it's like kind of like sub $500 type of thing, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time, okay? Like, I don't always remember the exact prices, but it wasn't cheap, it wasn't expensive, right? So that's kind of in the middle of that. Everybody has their idea of what they think cheap and expensive is, so there you go. Anyway, so we do have a 3-way switch on this thing, which is bridge. Of course, middle position is both pickups, and then of course the neck. One master volume, one master tone. Full floater tremolo system, 2-point bridge, kind of like the newer Strats. Have 2-point bridges now, and they're really good because they're much better stability for tuning, especially when you're using it as a floater. I tend to deck my bridges so you can, power dive down and you can do a little bit of knee, but you can't yank back, and that's the way it goes, right? Now this thing also has a 15 3/4 inch radius, which is kind of an oddball because I don't have a 15 3/4 inch radius tool, and it's like I got everything else but that one. So I set it up as a 15, and I redid the intonation today because every once in a while and every so many string changes you should actually check your intonation. Make sure it's okay, and it doesn't hurt to check the radius once in a blue moon either. Now a 15 is going to sit just slightly taller in its curve than what a 15 3/4 does. 15 3/4 is getting more flatter, right? So it's not a big issue, that little 3/4 mark. So if all you got's a 15 radius gauge, use it, it'll work, you'll be just fine. And I use 9 gauge strings on this thing, which is what came on it from the factory, the 942s. And I like the D'Addario strings on my electrics. They work great, they stay alive for quite a while. Now I haven't tried coated strings on this thing yet, although the thought process is there, because then it'd be a lot less often I'd be doing string changes, that's for sure. Now, I set the intonation up with the Boss GT100 board. The tuner in it is it is so extremely sensitive, it's mental, which is what you want if you're going to set up the intonation on an electric guitar. You want the more sensitive tuner, the better. And even though I love snarks, they're great for the clamp-on thing, tune on the go, especially when I don't have my pedal board with me. I can still tune the guitar with it. Setting intonation, all my guitars now are going to be set up solely with this board. I had been using a Cort tuner for many years. I've relied on it. It's always done a great job. But this thing is even more sensitive, so I can get things even tighter together. You'll never get perfect intonation. There's no such thing. But you can get her pretty darn close, I'll tell you. And that's where you want to be, as close as you possibly can get it. And I love the fact that it's got 24 frets, because that's a whole full 2 octaves. Because everything starts over again at the 12th fret, right? So 2 full octaves, great, works awesome. So let's try a different sound on this thing. Let's try a high gain stack. Power metal riff. Not that good at playing lead. Still learning about that stuff a lot. So don't bug me there. Anyways, overall it's a fantastic instrument. I seen one for sale on Reverb recently. All the same specs, and of course left-handed. Going for about $320 something. It was about $324, somewhere around there. I think it's worth it, to be honest. I mean, it's a great machine. So even a used one for $3 and change isn't bad, you know. And like I said, I mean, the frets are, unless the person is like death gripping the neck, I don't see any problem with picking up a used one of these things. It should be just fantastic. Now, I used to live in North Bay at one time, which is only a 20-minute drive, and I didn't bother with the whole, humidifier, dehumidifier stuff with the season changes. Didn't even really know about it, and so I didn't really care. Never had a problem, so hey. Living out in the country, things are a lot different with our atmosphere out here, especially when you're surrounded by a lot of bush. So it can get really super humid in the summer, like major humid, and in the winter it can get really dry. So right now, of course, it's winter time. We're trying to bring the humidity up as best as we can in the house, between 40 and 60%. Although 60% in this room is stifling. It's like almost like a rainforest. I walked in here the other day, it was like pushing 70, right? And I'm like, I think I saw a thundercloud in the corner somewhere. It was pretty damp in here. Which was fine, actually, because I had to give these girls a moistening anyways with some good humidity, because they've been dry for a while with the lower humidity levels. So we're trying to balance the house out. So we use a hot humidifier and a cold humidifier, or cool mist, at the same time, so we can level the entire house at one level and try and keep it, into the 40s, at least 50s even. But once in a while, when the temperature changes a lot outside, things get really dry in here. So then I got to bring the machine in here and crank her up for a few hours, and she'll push, 60, 70 in here, which is a little bit much. But then I can take it out, and within an hour we're down to 50s, and it kind of stays stable like that for a while. And it's kind of a back and forth thing. But guitars nowadays are a lot more sensitive than they used to be. But also living in the country too. If you live in the country, you'll know that you're surrounded by a lot of bush. It is going to get extremely humid in the summer and very, very dry in the winter time. So you really need to watch those levels, because wood moves and shifts all the time in guitars, no matter what. So you got to kind of keep things as balanced as you possibly can anyhow. As far as tuning stability though, the old girl's doing a great job. She stays in tune really well. Except of course when you start going really crazy with the whammy bar, pretty much anything's going to fall out of tune a little bit here and there. Plus or minus, not all your strings will, but some may move a little bit, It's just the way it goes, right? But anyways, it does have a fairly thick fretboard on it too, which is kind of like, wow, my strats are like half that thickness, Still no burrs, the wood's great on the neck. It's staying swelled up, so it's not sprouting at all. It's been great, But otherwise, she's a good little guitar, So if you get a chance to pick up a right-handed version, if you're a righty, where most people are, definitely take a look at the Cort X2s. They're definitely worth the money, and if you can get a real steal on one, even at a pawn shop, the one thing you really gotta cautiously look over the most is the frets for any kind of, major pitting and stuff. Because a fret job can cost you some bucks if you don't know how to do it yourself, or don't have the tools to do it yourself. So you might want to take that into consideration of, might have to get some fret work done here, and yeah, that'll give you a bargaining chip for a lower price too, especially with pawn shops. you know. But anyways, I would probably, in a star rating, put this thing somewhere around the 4.5 out of 5. You know, I mean, nothing is perfect, that's for sure. It's when it's set up as a floater, it is pretty stable in the tuning, but it will knock off pretty quick once you go a little wild with it. We don't have string trees here at all either, by the way. Strats and Tellys would also have string trees, 1 or 2 at least. This has none, and it doesn't require it. So the strings all come in a straight line right off the nut, so there's absolutely no binding. And it is a graphite nut, by the way, in case you're wondering about the nut material. It's graphite. So you don't have to worry about, you know, any of that, you know, graphite lube from a pencil. It's permanent in this case. So it is the original nut. Like, everything is original stock on this guitar except for the pickups. They're the only things that have ever been changed on this thing. And even the input jack is the same input jack. It's a great guitar. You know, I love it, you know. It's been a go-to axe for me. But now I also have 3 Les Pauls I have to spend time with, a couple of Strats, among other guitars. So, you know, I got to share my time between them. Sometimes they collect a little bit of dust for a while. You know, hey, blow off the dust. You know, play your guitar for a little bit. You know, switch to another one. Nothing wrong with that. I love the jumbo frets because it's so helpful to have less pressure, because the least amount of pressure you can get away with, the faster you can do stuff, especially like lead stuff. You know, you can do it so much faster, you know, when you have a really fast fretboard. And the neck on this is not sticky at all. And as far as the finish goes, it's like a glossy type finish. It's not super glossy. It's just enough to say, hey, there's actually some varathane on there. So your hand will do the rest of the natural gloss over years of use. And I've had a lot of use with this guitar, and it's great. Now, I can't remember the shape of the fretboard on it, like the neck type shape. It's kind of like a, oh, what would you call this? It's kind of like a flattened C kind of thing, you know. I don't know. But it's definitely, like, it's very flat across here. It's not like it's rounded, but it's more flatter than it is round. It's not a baseball neck, but it's a thin neck, and it's not overly wide, so it's not overly narrow either. It's kind of like one of those in-between kind of things, but with a very thin neck, so that you can grip this thing. And I don't have extremely long fingers either, you know, but more than long enough to play, you know, whatever I want with any kind of chord I want on my acoustics or electrics. But you know. It's just, I really like the guitar. To be honest, guys, I think it's a really great guitar. It's not the best guitar out there, you know, mind you. But if you're looking at just getting into guitar too, it's a great beginner and intermediate level guitar. If you're going to play professionally and gig with it, it is definitely more than worthy for that as well. You know, it's not about the price tag either when it comes to guitars. It's about, you know, how it feels, how it plays, the sound. And if you're not overwhelmingly happy with the sound of the stock pickups, before you change them, try adjusting them or try switching to a different amp, because pickups will sound different on every single amp. And I'm going to give you a little quick listen to that sort of thing right now, so you get a really good idea of what I'm talking about, because then it's the same pickups. So I'm going to turn my orange amp on. We're going to go and unplug the Katana over here. Whoops, sorry about that. That was me. Okay, let me just put this down. Get this cord out of the way. And we'll plug it right into there. There we go. So now we're into the orange amp. And you'll hear a huge difference already. Let's turn that down just a little bit. Both pickups. go to that high gain step. Now the power metal. Okay, huge difference, one amp to another. The amp here, this is my orange 35 RT. It has a 10-inch speaker in it. Of course, it's British stuff. And then, of course, over there was the Boss Katana 100 watt 1x12, 12-inch speaker. Completely different amps, different voices, completely different features. This thing has a clean channel, it has a dirty channel, that's it. The Katana's got all kinds of stuff. And of course, you know, cabinet size is different. The Katana's, you know, wider. It's got an open box. This is all closed in. It's a little bit shorter, smaller, but still awesome. Okay. So before you change your pickups, try a different amp maybe. You know, not every set of pickups is going to sound great with every single amp out there. There may be a handful of amps, one or two maybe, depending on the pickups. Maybe the pickups are so bad they don't sound good on anything at all, right? No, that never ever happens actually. But you get the idea, right? You know, and you can adjust the pickups and that sort of thing. And these pickups are pretty much set to factory specs as far as heights go and all that jazz. And so it's pretty good. But yeah, check out the Cort X2. Said 4.5 out of 5 is where I sit at it with it. If you want a little bit better stability, I don't think tuners are really going to help you out. I use a locking system which helps in tuning stability when I wind my strings on. So between that and, you know, these tuners, which are not extremely expensive tuners, it holds tune really well. You know, when it comes to these kind of bridges, whether it's a 6-point or 2-point tremolo system, they all have their stuff when it comes to tuning, you know. But certainly, once you get the intonation dialed in and you're doing good on that, you're fine. Now, like I said, I use 9s. 9s will fall out of tune faster with string bending than what 10s would. 10s would be a lot better, but I don't personally like 10s on this guitar. I prefer the 9s, and I use 10s on my Les Pauls, you know, and I use 9s on my Strats, you know, that sort of thing, because it's the way I prefer it. And it's the way they came from the factory, so I tend to usually stay with that gauge. Except for my Les Paul Studio. It came with 9s from the factory. They sucked. I went to 10s. Things awesome. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more gear stuff. Got more coming up for you, and sorry we're 7 years late, but you know, I really wanted to get this done because there are a lot of these things out there used left or right-handed, and it is definitely worth taking a look at these guitars or even any of the guitars from Cort. Take a look at them, see what you think. They do carry much more expensive guitars too in their lineup, so you know, it's not a this is just a bottom feeder company. It's not, because, you know, and this is definitely no bottom feeder guitar by any means either. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.